until yesterday when I was thinking about the title, that I thought about the very first time I was on this stage doing a power talk. Some of you might remember, and it was something titled like Leaving the Fence or something like that. And I talked about me as a preschooler in Montessori school at 2 or 3 years old, and I would stay on the fence. When my parents would, they'd drop me off and I'd stay on the fence, and I'd cry and cry and cry and cry because I was shy and all of that stuff. And at some point in time, the teachers would get me off the fence. Well, I guess that went on for a month or 2 months or something like that. And it also was the extra added bonus of making my parents feel bad, right? So at some point, 2 or 3 months went on, and my parents had a meeting with the teachers. We're really worried about Staci. She's not, she just cries on that fence. Does she do that all day? I'm like, as soon as you turn that corner, Staci is off and playing. So that's all she's working, you guys. And I thought about that because in ministry, I remember doing that power talk, thinking, you know what? My stage fright was real. It was a real thing. And I was thinking, to be a minister, an effective minister, at some point, at some time, not knowing where I would be today, that I'm going to have to probably speak at some point in some time, right? Other than a prayer, I probably will have to, chances are, speak. Now I'm going to do my prayer work so I don't have to. However, I'm going to have to also prepare for the fact that I might have to. And so that's what came up for me today. So I'm so grateful for Sabrina for her centering and her prayer, and Patty, the song was beautiful, and watching the video, it always makes me cry. I think I was okay, but 2020 was rough. And I found myself about almost a year ago, wondering how I was going to support my center, right? I'm employed here, yeah, and I also give back to the place where I'm employed because I love it here. This teaching has changed my life, and this place called the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living has truly changed my life. And so I'm always going to give back. At some points in time, I had to give back through perhaps volunteering or something that wasn't financial. But knowing that we needed finances, I'm thinking, okay, well, I wasn't doing real estate at the time, and my wine gig has gone bust, and now I'm spending more money on wine, and so how am I going to support my center financially? It was a real thing for me, right? And so I remember sitting there thinking, I'm just going to demand the universe. Abundance is my birthright, and I'm going to demand the universe that this is what I need for this center to move forward. I mean, I'm obviously not the only one, thank God. But this is what this center needs for me to feel like I'm doing my role. So some way, shape, form, or fashion, bring me the money. Show me the money. Well.
Supposed to be bouncing or something.
I'm supposed to be bouncing, yeah. So, Spirit's funny. God's a crack up, as Cheryl and I always say. And I was listening to NPR. And NPR they always are having drives for money, right? Because we as human beings, we kind of tend to forget to support sometimes where we're fed. And so I'm sitting there listening to that, I'm like, and Cheryl tells you how much I listen to NPR. And I'm thinking, I don't support NPR. Huh. What's that about? You ask people to support the center that you love, that supports others. Same kind of NPR type deal, right? So how can I ask that and not support NPR, which I always get something relevant. I always get something that I didn't know. I hear normally from another side I hear both perspectives. It's fairly well balanced. And so, maybe I should support NPR. Now, it wasn't a huge gift. I mean, it's a monthly thing. But it was my consciousness that had to reawaken to the fact that it's mine to do, to serve and be of service and to give. Because life works, it's a give and take type of thing. And as Reverend Cynthia used to always say, you can't outgive God. So I gave. Next day, I had applied for unemployment, not thinking that I would get it for a job where literally I probably work, my wine tasting job, maybe 12 hours a month. I got it. Not only did I get it, but I got $1,000 a week. So I was able to support the center even more than I was able to prior to me quitting real estate. And that's how the universe works. Now, I had to live in that fear for a moment, right? Before I decided to demand the universe, and before I started paying attention to my thoughts on what the universe was bringing me, right? It brought me that NPR commercial, and my consciousness was focused on giving and receiving. So that's how that worked in my life. You all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You can't outgive God. But I just remember feeling there's just that trepidation. I don't know. Should I be doing this? What the hell? Yes, I should be doing it. And it always works out. It always works out. It always works out because I believe it's going to work out. This morning I want to introduce to you, you know this person, somebody that always has that prosperity consciousness, that lives in that law of circulation, that person that when I do forget, had I not remembered, I probably would have called the person to remind me of how the universe works. She, at one time, was a licensed practitioner, and her beloved Norm passed away, and now she's remarried to her beloved Carl. And Barbara is just outstanding. She's an outstanding example of being a model for how this teaching works. And so please welcome Barbara Howlett.
There she
There
is.
she is.
There she
Yeah.
is.
I was thinking this morning as I was getting dressed, do you put lipstick on anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put some on. I like it. Well, the theme of the month is stepping up into the unknown. And I was thinking, as you were singing that beautiful song this morning, and I'd never heard it before. You can't fly until you break the shell. That was a beautiful song. Thank you. I have to remember that song.
There you
Oh,
go. Now
There you
it's
go.
on.
All right. Okay, so we have slide 1 on. Relinquish your attachment to the known, step into the unknown, and you will step into the field of all possibilities. That's from Deepak Chopra. When Reverend Staci asked me to give this talk on Sunday on prosperity, I can only tell you what works for Carl and me. It's how we step up, how we step out. Reverend Karen Wiley writes this month, as we grow spiritually, we constantly move into the unknown. This perfectly fits this month's theme of stepping into the unknown. We must have the courage to let go of the control that we think keeps us safe in our perceived unsafe world. It takes such courage to let go of lifelong false beliefs. I'm going to tell you about some of mine that have been running our lives since the beginning of our earthly journey. We know, and what I know for certainly, is that we live in a loving, supportive universe that is so powerful that we are powerful beyond measure. We are here to discover the true essence of our being, to live and love fearlessly, and to radiate our joy, peace, and inspiration throughout the world. Back in 1968, for those of you who weren't even born then, I was first introduced to the whole principle of tithing and prosperity by my beloved late husband, Norman. We were newlyweds. We were just starting out in life, and we had the usual expenses. Buying a house, furniture, a new baby coming, car payments, I feared those paychecks were just not going to stretch far enough. I was so afraid to step out and step out. Norman explained his belief system on tithing, and it was so strange to me. He said, give to the source of your good before you pay your bills. I'd never heard of it. Whatever our income, he said, we're going to set aside a certain percent, and that's going to be for our good. And we determine what it is. Well, before we paid any of the remaining bills, he also had us do something really strange. We had to say thank you to all the creditors who had enough faith to extend credit to us. That was the step up part. I had never thought about that, how wealthy we were, because all these people, the doctor, Southwest Medical, I mean, they all trusted us. So we would acknowledge each of these people. They didn't even know us personally. They just trusted us. They trusted the fact that we would pay them. So one by one, we did it. I was raised a Catholic, and I was taught by my father that every Sunday you put $1 in the collection basket, but only if you could manage it. I never questioned that. Of course, that was back in the 50s, 1950s. $1 at that time was worth $10 in today's money, but, you know, it was a lot of money to me, and I saw my dad putting that $1 in the basket. As a young child, I was pretty impressed. It wasn't even enough for a movie ticket, and certainly not enough for dinner out. And my life as a child was frugal and in lack. So when my father would say, we can just afford to give him something, maybe not always, we got that back in our life. But I didn't understand that principle at that time, nor did my parents. So when my beloved set this envelope on the table, and he said, okay, where are we getting our good? And of course, we were members at that time of the Harmony Street Church. Well, that was our good. And I said, well, that's a lot of money. And he said, well, let's talk about where is our good coming from? And so we had that conversation. We hadn't even seen how much money was left to pay our bills at that time. So we totaled all of our income, and he decided that percentage, and he decided 10% would be in this envelope. I had decided that I just married a madman. He was really, truly taking me into some kind of an unknown as far as I was concerned. Could I step up and step out at that time? Slide 2. Patrick Overton said, when you walk to the edge of all the light you have, and you take that first step into darkness of the unknown, you must believe one of two things. There will either be something solid for you to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. Dr. Overton tells us that stepping into the unknown can often be just about having faith that things are going to work. In the beginning of my own spiritual journey, sometimes I felt like it was stepping off a huge cliff without ever knowing about the landing I was going to take. And I certainly didn't ever think I could fly at that point. Until I married Hylton. Okay, our slide 3, please. So I was first going to learn my first lesson in abundance from my husband. Number 1, determine all the good you're presently experiencing, bless it, and give some of it back to the source of your good. Well, we knew our source. We were willing to trust. Okay, maybe he was. Me, not for sure. But I agreed to go along. And then he taught me the second most important law of giving, and that's the open hand principle, that giving is a part of receiving. We have slide 4. I was to learn much about giving and receiving. He helped me to understand that you hold the expectation always that all that is sufficient for your needs is already there. You just have to claim it. I learned that we, all of us, you and I, are all channels for abundance. It is a two-way channel. If your hand is clenched tightly and in fear of lack, you close off your good. Our life together of 42 years led us to a healthy financial state using these principles. When I gave up a permanent position in private practice to take a much lower paid position in healthcare education, it was not long before our finances increased over what we had been making before. And we always kept up with our giving plan. Even when I took the first job that was paying less money, we didn't stop. We kept the plan going. Slide 5. Lesson number 3. Good is available and not necessarily the avenue from which you were expecting it. Always and ever be grateful. Do not limit the law. It is not always the job or the relationship or even the loss of these things. It is deeper and more essential. You might not even see it right away. That's where the gratefulness comes in. I had to laugh when Staci mentioned NPR. I've supported NPR, Norman and I, and we still do have supported them for, 50 years, I don't know, many years. I don't even think twice about it because that's a great thing. And I have to tell you, and I forgot about it until you mentioned it. They had a drawing one time and I won a cruise. Now, did I expect that when I was donating? Well, I was shocked. It was beautiful. It was a 2-week cruise to the Bahamas. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So that's just one. And again, once these things happen, then you become thankful and grateful, and you say thank you to the universe because it was just waiting for me to take them. I didn't even know I wanted to go on a cruise. I'd never even been on a cruise. I have since been on 10 of them, but maybe it's not winning the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, or maybe it's going to be something small like yesterday. Carl got a check in the mail from Discover Card. He said, well, what's this? We don't even use a Discover Card. And then we remembered he had one several years ago, I don't even remember, and apparently he built up points or something. I don't understand the card. And apparently it sat there so long they just said, okay, take the money, and they sent it back. So, we blessed it. The minute it came, we blessed it. And we said, thank you, universe. And we accept it. Slide 6. Lesson 4. We are now partnering with the divine. Whew, that's a big one. Giving is a spiritual opening of our finances. You do have to step up and step out. Jesus taught that where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Wealth is not wrong. And being wealthy does not make anyone greedy. It's what we do with our money that matters. It's what we do with our good that matters. When we give, we acknowledge that divine law is always in action. Tithing is an act of faith. We must decide that we are generous before we feel generous. When we commit to tithing, we fully experience our connection to the divine. Then the joy that comes from that connection motivates us to do it again and again. It feels good. In biblical times, Christians typically held their meetings in private homes or public spaces, and they didn't have significant operating expenses. However, modern centers, such as this one, needs money. They need to pay salaries. They need rent. We don't pay the rent. They kind of don't want us here. They have to pay utilities. You'd be pretty unhappy if you were sitting here without heat or air conditioning. And you certainly want the bathroom to work.
Yes, please.
And there's so many other supplies and expenses. Churches need volunteers also for their ministries, and we are so blessed in this center to have. When I look around and see, I look around and I see you here, all the wonderful people who do wonderful, even small tasks, huge tasks, but it's all a part for the center. So, does this center really need a steady stream of money? Yes. They need dependable income monthly. An occasional buck in the basket, like my dad said, doesn't work. They have to know in their budget that the money is going to be coming in on a regular basis. Slide 7. Giving opens the way for receiving. Being generous always consists of simply extending an open hand. That is when the channels open and flow freely from the giver to the receiver and back again. It's hard to do when you grasp tightly onto your belief system of lack. Well, I could sign a pledge for, but what if I'm short of money? That doesn't work that way. In fact, it's worse. If you have a lack, a belief system of lack or an assumption about that, you limit your definition of the abundance you're ever going to get. Or you end up like this. The next one, please.
Wait, Otomate, I've got an idea. Take the check out of your purse.
Oh, you're right. I should take it out. I should put it where nobody can get it.
No. Endorse it.
No, if I endorse it, then if I drop it, somebody will get it. No, I just...
It's not your money. I never said you were going to get the money. This is blood money. I was killed for this money. Now endorse the check.
I know, but... Well, Sam, what are you going to do with it?
Look over there. To your left.
I know you don't think I'm giving this $4 million to a bunch of nuns.
Otomate, if you don't do it, they will track you down. Your only protection is to get rid of it.
Oh, Sam, come on. You're killing me. It's $4 million.
Just think of it this way. You'll go to heaven.
I want to go to heaven. I want to go to the bank and cash the goddamn check. Hello. Yeah.
Thank me later.
How you doing?
Now endorse it, Rita Miller.
No.
Make it out to St. Joseph Shelter.
I can't believe you're making me do this.
Give it to her.
I will. I just want to feel it one more time in my finger. That's all. I'm
Give
so
the
feel
lady
it
the check.
I will.
Hand her the check. You can do it. Give her the check.
I will.
Bless you, child. Bless you.
Look, give it to her. Let go. Let go! I'm proud of you, Otomate.
You know something, Sam?
I'm proud of you, Otomate.
You know something, Sam?
I love that scene. I love that movie. Oda Mae, and she had a $4 million check in her hand, but she believed in life. If she gave it up, it was gone. And that's just not how we give in our lives. And that's what not works for us. We have to, when we sign our pledge card, if you have never seen one of these, it's a Las Vegas CSL pledge card, and it just says, this represents how much money I will give every month, so they know that if you decided $10 or $1,000, that's what they're going to be able to budget on. So Carl and I are proud pledge signers, have believed in it since way back in Norman's day, and we keep it up all the time. We don't even think twice about it. We just know that's a part of, like making a car payment. It's for our good. Oda May, well, she believed that moment in her own lack. Even though she held the key, as we all do, to greater wealth within her grasp. There was a struggle, she finally let go, but that's not stepping up. That's not stepping out. And so, here, after 50 years after my first lesson, I don't look that much older, do I? I have the real blessing of finding a husband, my sweet Carl, who understands and practices the law of abundance. Enter my husband, Carl, my blessing.
Sweet.
Another talk should be coming soon on finding the partner of your dreams. Carl and I know that no matter what, we have sufficient for our needs. Our life is full, not only with things, like a home or a car or a bank account. And they're all nice, we have them. But we know that we can share our good without any fear that that will be taken from us. Because if we have any fear, it does limit our good. So now, what's my lesson and Carl's lesson to you today? Find your way to give on a dependable basis. Is it a financial stretch? It won't be if you release your ideas of limitation. Can you give in other ways as you open the door? Yes. Donate your service first. Recognize that service as your good that you are donating. And donate it on a regular basis. So maybe you say, I'll be happy to come out, ask the Reverends what they need. I'll do that for the next 6 months. And that's my tithe. Because maybe I can't afford to, or maybe I can't think that I can afford to do something else. So claim it as your good. Keep the door wide open, just like your palm is open. Be thankful, because the small demonstrations will come your way. Discover card. Be thankful when it comes. Recognize it as part of the good you're receiving. And sometimes it'll be just a simple kindness that you didn't expect. Acknowledge that as well. Tithe on every unexpected check and open the door even wider. We've got to work on that check from Discover. That's our next thing. It just came yesterday. I had time. We have made a commitment to send our financial donations on a monthly basis so this center can budget appropriately, and whether we're here or away. And we're only here 6 months a year. We go up to our beloved Idaho. That money comes in. They know they can depend that that check will be here and that they can budget for it. Even a small donation, a monthly donation of $75 to $100 can ensure the success of this teaching if they know it's coming. We all went to the annual meeting and we learned that they've got a $50,000 opportunity to grow.
There you go.
$50,000 is nothing, really. It's money. If 1,000 people gave $50, or 50 people gave $1,000, it'd be all over. They'd be back on the road again. So see how small that really is? It's like it's overwhelming. Money makes us become overwhelmed. We give it the power instead of taking the power that belongs to us. So, when you sign that pledge, however, just remember that it is abundance coming from the divine, and it comes through you to the center and back. Keep your hand open and your heart grateful. Slide 10. Words. Watch carefully as you speak about your prosperity. I've had people come up to me and say, well, you're just so lucky. And I say, well, I'm blessed. It's wonderful. Instead of saying, well, it's nothing, not as good as so-and-so. No, you say, thank you, it's wonderful, and I share it graciously. So remember, words are important. Negative comments will become your thought pattern. I don't have enough money for this. I'm not sure I can afford such a. Those are negative thoughts that are in your head, and once you put them there, you have to consciously remove them. No, that's not true. That's not what I believe. Remember, we focus on holding tight like Oda May, we miss out on the whole receiving thing. So, and finally, speak only thoughts about prosperity for this center. This center should always be spoken of in a prosperous way.
Yes.
And so, hold a vision for the center. We learned about that a couple weeks ago, about visioning as a financially healthy center. Slide 11. Well, now this is the how-to. To step up and step out. Sir Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." So today, I challenge you to a prosperous life. Sign that donation pledge today and set it up that each week or month, whatever you decide, the center knows it's coming in. And when your abundance comes, and it will, that amount is automatically, again, sent to the center. If you feel moved after the service, you can also leave a check or cash in the basket today. 2020 was a year, supposedly, of financial loss and many losing jobs, and all the COVID issues brought belief in lack and fear to many who would accept them. Did we change our giving plan during 2020? No, in fact, we increased it. I will tell you some of the good, certainly not all. I get reminded of the NPR and the Discover check just now. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened to us. We had an airplane to sell. Slide 12. It's a big airplane. It's an expensive airplane. And we had a hangar, and we also had a Model T in 1918 on the market. We went to the broker, and he advised us, selling this magnificent airplane in 2020, really? Not difficult, if not impossible. But we saw it as a part of the flow of good. We received and we accepted a cash offer, May 2020.
Wow.
Cash.
Awesome. Nice.
And I'm reminded that we were in the foundations class, Carl and I, and we were asked to write down, some of the things that we wanted to see happen that were on that list. And then I was reminded further the other day, I was, Facebook brings up things from years ago, and it came up, I put a picture on there, and I said it's going to be sold this year.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So,
There it is.
And there it is. It's sold. So then, after this wonderful good that we were thanking the universe for, we received a call. Carla got a call from someone. And he said, "Hey, you got a hangar for sale?" We didn't put it on the market because we decided there was too much to clean out of the hangar. And I think I told you in another talk how many stuff we get gathered in the hangar. Sometimes too much abundance is not a good thing.
Oh.
The guy said, "If you sell us that, you tell me your asking price and I'll give you $5,000 if I can have it Monday."
Wow.
So he gave us $5,000 over our asking price, and we hadn't even advertised it. So of course we sold that. Slide 13. And then our Model T. We had several people come in to look at it, and then we washed the car and get it all cleaned up because it looked so nice. It was clean. Well, it was in the Abbey, and by this time the birds had done their job on it. And the guy called and he said, "I want to look at your Model T." And I said, "No, I was tired. We just sold the airplane and the hangar, and I had stuff trying to do." And he said, "I'd like to come to look at it today." I said, "Carl, I'm not washing one more time for some guy to come by as a looky little guy." See, I was kind of losing mine. Sometimes you lose it. Carl said, "Oh, the guy's interested, well, I'll take him out there." So he took him out to look at this bird poop covered Model T. And he comes back in the house, he's got a check in his hand, and I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "You bought it, asking price, no argument, no negotiations, just." So I leave you with the plan. Accept and bless your present good. Whatever you have, bless it. Maybe you don't think it's enough, but bless it. And then open the door by sharing a portion of that to your source of your good, and then pledge to share monthly, and then accept and bless your good as it begins to show up, and it will. And do not limit your good with negative thoughts of lack or limitation. And so, slide 15, I leave you with pictures of our peaceful, beautiful Idaho home, one Carl built, by the way, and the neighbors' horses in our pasture. And there's another part of the good we receive and bless, because they have, I don't know, 40 horses or whatever, and we have a 17-acre pasture that has to be mowed all the time. And they came over and said, "Would it be all right if we let our horses go in your pasture?" I'm like, "And we want to pay you for it." It's like, okay. Now, mind you, the horses come in and eat up all the grass, so it's all mowed nice. We get to watch these horses galloping through, and it's beautiful. You sit in the patio, and they're there galloping. We don't pay vet bills. We don't have to clean up the poop. We don't have to. It's like we get all the blessings. So again, another wonderful demonstration. So, as I leave you, I just want to remember the words of our dear Reverend Cynthia. Those of you who remember her. She's always used to say, "I just can't wait to see how this is going to work out." When you step up, when you step